Welcome everyone to video number 19, which also is chapter number 19 in your book, For Once They Coordinate. Okay. This is the book we're using. Chapter number 19, Wigs. Now, I promise you this is not a very heavily tested chapter on your state board exam, which is a shame because it's an incredibly profitable area once you get your license. I'm going to give you one quick little war story. I have a friend, he had a stroke, unfortunately, and he couldn't drive for quite a while. He was probably in his late 50s and he had lost most of his hair on top, and he wore we'll call it a wig, okay, a hairpiece. You couldn't tell, honestly, you could not tell. It was so realistic looking. Well, it came time to go and have his hair cut and do what they do, and I drove him because he couldn't drive himself, and because I'm kind of a curious person, I made sure I watched the whole procedure. When he went in, they undid it from the braid that was holding it in place. They took it off. They cleaned his scalp. They put something on to, make sure there was no irritation. They cut his hair on the edge. They put the thing back on. The whole procedure, from walking in to walking out, took an hour. It was $250 plus the tip. Now, if you crunch out some simple numbers, a 20% tip of $250 is $50. We can say it was $300. I don't know about you, but there are not many professions that pay $300 an hour that you can be licensed to do in less than a year of school. Doctors and lawyers get more than $300 and they go to school for a decade of their life. Hair replacement, which is the currently popular, correct term, for wigs and hair pieces, is an incredibly profitable area that you might really want to think about, especially with men. Women don't usually go bald. It's occasionally, not very common, okay? Men lose their hair, and just look around you, you know it's true. It's an incredibly profitable area once you get your license. Which brings us to today's video, getting your license. What are they going to ask you about wigs on your state board exam? And I'm going to start with the vocabulary list. And those of you who are really smart will subscribe to our station, send us your email, and we'll send you a free list of vocabulary words on your test. Number one is turned hair, T-U-R-N-E-D, turned hair. What that means is they have paid somebody in the wig making factory to sit in front of a conveyor belt with glasses on the light and make sure each piece of hair is turned in the same direction. The reason they do this is it doesn't tangle easily in the wig. Now, you can go into the dollar store and buy it says 100% human hair. It is from 100 different humans. It's all going in different directions. You try to comb it, once it gets wet, it's impossible. That's why it costs 99 cents. Turned hair has been turned, so each piece of hair has the cuticle pointing in the same direction, just like the hair on your head. Rooted hair, another term meaning the exact same thing. They've put the hair into the wig shell with all the cuticle facing in one direction. Rooted and turned hair, essentially the same thing. Cuticle intact hair. We all know there are three parts of a hair shaft: the cuticle, the cortex, the medulla, or some people don't have medulla, okay? The cuticle is the outside, almost like the shingles of a roof or the scales of a fish. If the cuticle is missing from too much chemicals or heat, the hair tangles easily. The more intact the cuticle is, the more the hair is easier to comb through, the shinier it looks. When you're buying a wig, you pay a lot of money for this. Cuticle intact hair. Now there's a concept called fallen hair, F-A-L-L-E-N, fallen hair. And it means pretty much what the name suggests, fallen. In the wig making factory, this is the hair that fell on the floor. They sweep it up and use it to make a wig. It could come from 10 different people, okay? It's not going to be a very good wig, but it will say 100% human hair and probably be available in Walmart and Target. You get what you pay for. Fallen hair. There are two kinds of wigs. There's a cap wig and a capless wig. Short take on this, a cap wig is good for people with little or no hair. You can't see through it to their bald scalp. A capless wig has holes, openings in it. You put it on, you pull the client's own hair through it. Probably 8 out of 10 actresses on TV are wearing one. Okay, it looks very real because part of it is real. It just makes her hair look longer and thicker and fuller. A capless wig. It's a good idea when your client has hair, just wants to have more hair or longer hair. If the client is bald or has very, very thin hair, it's not a good idea because you can see through to the bald scalp. Hand tied or hand knotted, Knotted wigs. Once again, they've paid someone to sit in the wig factory and insert by hand each piece of hair and tie it in a little knot into the wig base. This is a time-consuming process and people must get paid for it. Therefore, the price of the wig will be much higher. Hand-knotted or hand-tied wigs. Brings us to lace front wigs. This is a wig with lace around the face, which is glued onto the person's skin, usually makeup applied on to cover it. So you can, the State Board exam asked this question. Type of wig used for off-the-face hairstyles. It's very easy to disguise the hairline if the hair comes forward. But when the hair is all pulled back, it's not so easy. You use a lace front wig. Those of you who remember a few years ago when Beyonce was doing her show and this side came loose and it was flapping in the wind, a lace front wig. Okay? A toupee, a word that's kind of gone out of style. We don't use it that much anymore. The current politically correct term is hair replacement system. Toupee is a French word meaning a small wig on the top of your head, generally worn by men because that's where men usually lose their hair. I've never seen a guy with a lot of hair on top of his head and none on the back. Maybe you have. I've never seen that. Most men will lose their hair on top. The word is a toupee. It's a small piece that goes on top of their head. You see the word in your State Board exam. It usually isn't used anymore in the industry. Finally, there's an integration wig. An integration wig is a wig with a hole or holes in the base. You put it on, you take a crochet hook and pull the actress's hair through it. Jennifer Aniston comes to mind. She wears them all the time. Okay? It makes her hair look longer and thicker and fuller. An integration wig. It's almost always on the test. I'm going to give a couple of questions before we go. Question number 1. Where does the second most expensive human hair come from in the wig making process? China, India, Europe, or Africa? Where does the second most expensive hair used in the wig making process come from? China, India, Europe, or Africa? And if you guessed India, you're correct. You get the prize. Okay. Number 2, and our last question. Why is cuticle intact hair more expensive? Why is cuticle intact hair more expensive? Answer A says because the hair is virgin hair. Answer B says because the hair has been processed for ease of styling. Answer C says because the hair is rooted or turned. And answer D says none of the above. And if you turn to page 576 in your book, you will know the answer to this question. Why is cuticle intact hair more expensive? That brings us to the end of the wigs chapter. Again, as I said, it's not very heavily tested, perhaps 3 or 4 questions on the test. But let's keep in mind, you can fail the test by 1 point. And I've looked at thousands of test results over the years, pass and fail. And I will tell you, if there's 1,000 people that fail their test, 950 fail by less than 3 points. It is very rare to see a person get a 55 or a 60 on their test. What is painfully common is to see a student fail their test with a 74, okay, or a 73. It is painful. Okay? So do not write off anything and say this is not important, because it is important. Everything is important. Before we close, again, I'm going to show you our book, Cosmetology State Board Exam, Questions and Answers. We have it for every state, including yours. Okay, go onto our website, cosmetologystateboardexam.com. Send us your comments. Please subscribe to our video channel and When you subscribe, make sure you send us an email with your email address, and we will send you the free list of all the vocabulary terms. Thank you so much, and please join us for video number 20.